All right, let's talk about a word you've probably heard everywhere lately, from your yoga teacher to your physical therapist, fascia. But what on earth is it really? And why is everyone so obsessed with it? Well, that's what we're going to figure out today.
So, a few years back, I had this hamstring injury that just would not go away. I went to see this bodyworker, and pretty much the first thing he said to me was this quote. He told me, "You don't have a hamstring issue, you have a fascia injury." And then he said he only works on fascia, not muscle, all while grinding his elbow deep into my leg. I was so confused. If you've ever felt that way, don't worry, you're in the right place.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to uncover what this hidden web in our body actually is. Then we'll bust some common myths. After that, we'll get into the practical stuff, how you should move to keep it healthy. And finally, we'll talk about what to eat to fuel it all.
All right, let's jump right in. Part 1. What are we really talking about when we say the word fascia?
Okay, so the simplest way to picture it is to think of plastic wrap. It's this thin film that wraps around every single one of your muscles, but it also weaves through them. This is what gives your muscles their shape, and really importantly, it lets them slide past each other smoothly, without any friction.
To take that idea a little deeper, think about an orange. You know all that white, stringy stuff inside, the pith? It separates every single wedge, but it also holds the whole fruit together. Without it, you just have a puddle of orange juice. Well, your body is kind of the same. Without fascia, you'd basically be a bloody muscle smoothie. It's the framework holding you together.
And you might be wondering, how much of this stuff do we actually have? You're not going to believe this, but a person can carry up to 23 kilograms, that's about 50 pounds, of fascia. So yeah, it's not some minor little tissue. It's a massive body-wide system.
So if you remember one thing from this section, make it this. Fascia isn't just passive packing material. It's this amazing web of connective tissue, giving you structure. But, and this is the game changer, it is also a powerful sensory organ.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Your fascia has up to 6 times more sensory nerve endings than your muscles do. So, you know that deep, achy feeling you get a day or two after a really tough workout? That muscle soreness? Chances are, that's a signal coming straight from your fascia.
This also shows us just how different fascia is from other things, like tendons. See, tendons don't have a great blood supply, which is why they take forever to heal. But fascia, it has its own network of tiny little capillaries. And that is huge for recovery, because it means that even though fascial injuries can really hurt, they can often heal way, way faster than a tendon injury.
Okay, so that brings us to part 2. Now that we have a better idea of what fascia is, let's start debunking some of the biggest myths and confusing things you hear about it.
And here it is, the big one. We hear about fascial stretching and releasing our fascia all the time. But when you're holding that deep stretch or rolling around on a foam roller, is that what's actually happening?
The short answer? Nope, not really. Fascia isn't like a rubber band that you just stretch out and it snaps back. A much, much better way to think about it is that you are remodeling it. You're literally changing its shape and texture over time.
So what does that actually mean? Well, fascia does have this wavy fiber pattern that gives it a bit of spring, but it's mostly what we call a plastic tissue. That means it adapts and molds itself to whatever you do most. It can get thicker or thinner depending on your activity. A great analogy is to picture layers of phyllo dough with hydration in between. When it's healthy, it's supple, and all those layers just glide past each other.
And this brings me right back to that bodyworker. This idea that you can somehow separate fascia from muscle, it's a total myth. You can't work on one without affecting the other. They are a single, connected unit. That's why a term like myofascial release really just means you're working on that entire system, muscle and fascia all together.
So, enough theory. Let's get practical. How can we actually train to keep this incredible fascial web of ours healthy and happy and pliable?
I want you to think of your fascia as a full body wetsuit. It's not a bunch of separate parts, it's one continuous piece. There are these long lines of connection that run all the way from the bottom of your foot to the top of your head. This means that tightness you feel in your shoulder could actually be starting in your opposite hip. It's all connected.
And with fascia, the old saying is absolutely true. If you don't use it, you lose it. You literally lose your range of motion. Think about a cyclist who's hunched over their bike for hours and hours, year after year. Their fascial wetsuit literally starts to mold and harden into that shape, making it tough to even stand up straight. So the secret is to move in all three planes of motion. Almost everything we do for exercise, running, squats, bicep curls, is in the sagittal plane. It's all forward and back. But we're forgetting about the coronal plane, which is side-to-side movement, like side lunges. And even more importantly, we're forgetting the transverse plane, twisting and rotation. This is probably the most neglected movement, but it's absolutely vital for keeping your fascial system healthy and adaptable.
And what about keeping that natural springiness we talked about? Well, the answer is some light plyometrics. And I'm not talking about crazy box jumps here. We're talking simple things like hopping, skipping rope, or even just bouncing on a little mini trampoline. It's all about keeping those tissues resilient. All right, we've reached our final section. We know what fascia is, and we know how to move it. Now let's talk about how to feed it. What are the building blocks you need for a healthy connective tissue?
Now, a lot of people just run out and buy expensive collagen supplements, but your body is an amazing collagen factory. You just need to give it the right raw materials. Think of this slide as your shopping list. You need vitamin C, the minerals zinc and copper, and foods that are rich in sulfur.
And of course, protein is the foundation. A pretty good target is somewhere around 0.8 to 1 gram for every pound of your ideal body weight. And if you want to round things out, an omega-3 supplement is great for managing inflammation, and a little magnesium before you go to sleep can really help your muscles and your fascia to relax and recover.
So if you only take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Your body is made for dynamic, three-dimensional movement. Real health isn't about isolating one muscle or one tissue. It's about moving your whole integrated body in every single direction it was designed to move in.
Which leaves me with one final question for you. Your body is this incredible machine, built for complex 3D movement. So, is your daily life trapping it in a 1D world? Thanks for joining me.